Hi, I'm Chris Saunders. I'm with Utah State University Extension, and today I'm going to show you how to do rice in a pressure cooker. Usually a pressure cooker probably isn't something that you would choose to cook rice in because you may have a rice cooker or you do it on the stovetop. But I don't know about you, but when I come home from work after a long day, I'm tired, I may have dinner planned, but I have not built in the time to cook brown rice. You cook white rice and it takes about 15 minutes, but brown rice and other whole grains take 45 minutes. So today I'm going to show you how to do it in your pressure cooker, and it's only going to take 10 minutes after it gets up to pressure. First thing we're going to do is you need a bowl, a metal bowl that is heat proof and one that will fit inside of your pressure cooker. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some aluminum foil and I'm going to make a handy dandy handle so that I can raise and lower my bowl into my pressure cooker easily. I have measured it so it's a little longer than the bowl. I'm going to fold it in half and then fold it in half once again. And because I want it to be a little stronger and maybe a little narrower, I'm going to fold it in half again. And so this is going to be my handle and my lifter. I'm going to set it aside for the time being. Your pressure cooker, a lot of people are scared of using your pressure cooker, which in today's world, a pressure cooker has a lot of safety features built in, an overpressure plug that will melt or blow out if the pressure gets too high. It has a handle lock so that once it gets up to pressure, the lid is locked onto the pressure cooker, and it has a vent that when the weight starts rocking, it automatically releases enough pressure so that you're not going to build up too much steam. So in doing our rice, I'm going to inspect the pressure cooker. This is my one I use at home. It's well used. I can check and make sure that the rubber ring is still there. It's still pliable. I'm going to look and make sure that I can see through the vent hole so that it isn't plugged up. I have my weight, which is a 15-pound weight. When you're cooking food, the 15-pound weight is typically what you use. And I have a rack that fits in the bottom so that my pan or my food or whatever is not going to fit directly on the floor of my pressure pan. I'm going to put my rack in the bottom there. I am going to right away add 2 cups of water to my pressure pan, and then I'm going to take my heat-proof bowl and I'm going to add 1 cup of brown rice. Typically when you cook rice will expand double, and so a general proportion for cooking rice is 1 to 2. So if I have 1 cup of rice, I would do 2 cups of water. If I had a half a cup of rice, I would use 1 cup of water. When you're doing it in your pressure cooker, it's more like a steaming process. So for my 1 cup of rice, I'm only going to use 1 1/2 cups of water, and hence I have put the 2 cups of water in the pressure cooker so that there is going to be adequate moisture to rehydrate the rice. I'm going to tear some more aluminum foil and tightly cover the bowl. And then I take my little handle or lifter that I have made. I'm going to use it to lower my rice into my pressure cooker and then just fold down the handle. I will start my heat source, put my pressure cooker on my heat, and actually put the lid on. And then I will put the weight on top. You can keep it on high until it gets up to pressure. With this particular pressure cooker, you will know it's up to pressure because the weight will rock gently, and you want to adjust the heat so that the pressure or the weight rocks gently instead of madly rocking around, creating a lot of noise and a lot of disturbance. You still need to watch your pressure cooker just like you do with any kind of cooking. You don't want to leave food untended on the stove. You don't want to start a grease fire. You don't want to boil something dry, but you need to watch it and maintain so that the steam is just at the right pressure and it will rock gently at the 15 pounds. While we're waiting for the pressure cooker to come up to pressure, I just wanted to talk to you a minute about pressure cooking and pressure cooking methods. Pressure cooking was really used quite a bit before World War II. At World War II, all of the metal factories were transferred so that they were making war supplies, and so pressure cookers in the United States were not used that much, and after the war they kind of lost popularity. However, recently we're seeing an increase in interest in pressure cooking, and there are a lot of different kinds of brands that are available and methods that are available. You can look around and see what there is to offer. You may even have one hidden somewhere in your cupboard that just needs to be revised. I have this particular brand of pressure cooker that works basically the same way, but with this one, when it's up to pressure and locked, instead of the weight rocking, it makes a high-pitched noise. So you need to learn, if you have that kind of pressure cooker, you need to learn how to use it. Also, I have this other fancy pressure cooker that the lid locks on. And then there's a little dot that when it's up to pressure, it'll turn red. And this is the way you adjust the amount of pressure. Is over here. If you have an electric pressure cooker, you make sure and read the owner's manual, which is just generally a good idea for whatever pressure cooker that you use. You will come with an owner's manual and recipes. I encourage you to read your owner's manual so that you know about the parts, how they work, and how you find replacement parts. Also try out some of the recipes. Really, really interesting. There's a recipe for making a caramel flan, which is absolutely breathtaking. Cheesecakes, any meat that you cook in your pressure cooker will be fork tender. And the thing about pressure cookers is that anytime that the food is cooked with liquid, the flavors will combine. Anytime that the foods are separated, the flavors will cook, but the flavors will not combine. So if you put your pork chops in the bottom and put your rack there and your baked potatoes on top of that, the flavors will not combine. One of the things I like to do with my pressure canner, or pressure cooker rather, it's not a canner, is that if I need to make 10 baked potatoes, these are more like steam, but you can put 10 potatoes in your pressure pan and cook it bring it up to pressure it for 3 minutes, and your potatoes will be all done. With this brown rice, we'll pressure it for 10 minutes and let it sit for 5 minutes, and it'll be absolutely perfect and cooked. If you're doing white rice, it will take just 5 minutes. The brown rice that we've had cooking in the pressure pan has been pressuring for 10 minutes. What we will do now is let the pressure fall naturally and before we open up the lid. This will be part of the cooking process. So the rice will steam for a total of about 15 minutes, and so we'll wait for that to start cooling down. what we will do in the meantime is, I don't know if you've noticed, but there are all kinds of rices and grains on the market that are whole grains, and because they're whole grains, they take about 45 minutes to cook on this top of the stove or in your rice cooker. What I've discovered I like to do is combine a bunch of different kinds of grains and use it in a variety of ways. I can use it as a side dish for a dinner meal that I'm having, maybe grilled chicken breast and vegetables, and my steamed or my cooked grain combination. I can keep it in the refrigerator and have it for breakfast in the morning. I like to put yogurt and fruit with it. It makes a nice hearty breakfast. And the thing about it is, if we cook it in the pressure cooker, it takes 5 or 10 minutes to steam and then 5 minutes to cool, and it's done. And if you make enough, you will have leftovers in the fridge that are really, really tasty. One thing I noticed is that you can buy a combination of rice already combined. The majority of it is probably brown rice, but it also has some red rice and some black rice, which I don't know about you, but they are a little bit pricey, but they are interesting to use. Wild rice, you're probably more familiar with, which isn't actually rice. It's the seed of a grass, but it also takes 45 minutes on stovetop or 10 minutes in your pressure cooker. So I'm going to just take a combination of these grains and rices and mix them together, and then they can be steamed also for a combination product. The first thing I'm going to use is some wheat berries. There's a variety of ways you can cook wheat berries, but in the pressure cooker it works really well. So I'm going to just add some wheat berries. Then I have some oat groats, which I will also add to my mix. I will add some steel cut oatmeal, just a little bit. And then probably the basis of my grain mixture will either be rice or wheat berries or brown rice, which I will add some there. Then add some black rice. Look how interesting. Look how interesting that is. It truly is a black rice. And I won't add a whole lot of it, because just enough for some color and some interest, because we also eat with our eyes as well as with our mouth. And then some red rice, which is truly red also. You can see how the red rice looks too. Sometimes if I have teff, I will add some teff or some quinoa. I will stir up and mix the grains together. You can see how they're mixing, and then I'm going to use the same proportions I did with the brown rice. In that, I'm going to do a cup of my grain mixture with 1.5 cups of water and 2 cups in the pressure canner. Okay, our rice is all cooled down. The pressure has dropped. I'm going to remove the weight. See, it didn't blow up or let out a loud noise. The handle is now unlocked, so I can take the lid off the pressure cooker. And you can see what it looks like. It's expanded. You can see the rice has made a bubble on the lid. And I will save this handle for another day. And we carefully remove the aluminum foil lid, and here's our brown rice, finely cooked and ready to serve. Yeah, this is the combination grain mixture. This one we actually pressured for 15 minutes and cooled quickly. It probably would be a little bit more fluffy if we had left the aluminum foil over the top so it could steam and cool down a little bit more, but as you can see, this is cooked adequately, and it makes a really interesting side dish and has a real nutty, full-bodied flavor, and is a very nutritious product. Thank you for visiting with me today. I hope you've learned something about cooking rice in your pressure cooker. Happy eating and have a good day.